Hi everyone, and welcome at Ivory Tower. Last week we proudly announced our partnership with Chris Forsberg for our next season. Time has come to share with you more details about this amazing partnership. Chris, Olivier, can you introduce yourself to the people who don't know you yet?
Yeah, sure. My name is Chris Forsberg. I'm a 3-time drifting world champion, and I've been building cars for over 20 years now, and just overall, video game enthusiast, and just happy to be here.
Hello, and I'm Olivier Guédon. I'm producer on the Crew 2, and very happy to have Chris with us on board with us for the season.
Cool. So to start, how did your collaboration with Ubisoft go?
So Ubisoft reached out and basically expressed to us that they have a new season coming out and wanted to get some more implementation with maybe some real life cars. And so we have multiple different cars in our factory back in the US. And so we have, a rallycross car, we have classic cars, and of course we have our race cars.
Cool. So you already started talking about it. So what can you share about your background as a Formula Drift driver?
So I've been driving in Formula Drift since day one. I'm one of 2 drivers now that has done every single event that Formula Drift has offered, and we have the most podium finishes. I'm tied with the most championships, and we have a overall head-to-head battle win record as well. So just basically been doing it for quite some time, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Cool. So you're not only a driver, you also have your own team. What does it mean exactly?
So my team, Forsberg Racing, we have not only myself as a driver and owner, we expanded it very recently to have a road racing program with Brian Highcotter, who is, he has a very interesting story going from video games to racing in real life.
Really?
Yeah. And so he drove the Nissan GT3 GTR for quite some time with Nissan, and we got together because I started to do some online sim racing 2 years ago or so, when all the racing kind of slowed down for a little bit. And so we got linked up, and we actually built him a Nissan 370Z to compete in the Grid Life Touring Cup Championship.
And what's interesting also with what we're trying to achieve with this season is the fact that we're trying also to use your team and see actually what you can bring to our player, like a little bit of mentoring or helping to give them some advices and trying to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so another part of our program, just like you mentioned with the mentoring, we have a driver, Alex Jager, who is in the pro spec class of Formula Drift. So it's one tier below what we do, and they have a little more restriction on the build of the car. But we helped him out with partnerships and some advice and how to set up the car, and even getting the proper mechanics on his team to not only build the right car for him, but also to help him at the track. And then we kind of spot for each other at times, helping out with setups, things like that. So
that's
a little
cool.
bit of real life, like you say, coming into the game and trying to push people forward.
Yeah, that's cool then.
You already started talking about some of the achievements of your team, but you also mentioned several people. So for people who don't know everything about those achievements, can you shed more light on that?
Sure. So myself, like I said, been driving for 20 years now, and I won my first championship back in 2009, and that vehicle has been applied to the Crew 2. So in the new Forsberg Dominion, you can drive my first championship car. It's the 350Z. And it's a really cool car, so that one to see forever embedded in the game is awesome. And then the 370Z being the car that we won our next 2 championships with, also being included in the game.
And is there a big difference between your real life driving and the version that we did on our own?
I mean, we get a little wild in the car, but yeah, it's of course, we put the right power into the car for the game, and so you get a lot of, the tires are very easy to spin because our car in real life makes about 1,300 horsepower, and
That's a lot.
so it burns them down.
Okay, cool. Talking about your team again, what are the best memories that you have, achievements, or with personal memories with the team?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different moments in my racing career that I could say are like most memorable or my favorite. Of course, first championship being monumental one. I was the first driver to win a Formula Drift championship that didn't come from another series of racing. The previous drivers all had either rally racing or road racing experience, and so I was a self-taught drifter. So like the first grassroots drifter to grow into the professional motorsport and win a championship.
Nice.
So that one was pretty monumental. And the other one that really sticks out is in 2014. We were basically we had like the championship in our hands the year before, and it was a crazy mix-up of events in the final race, and so we ended up finishing second. We thought we had it covered, and cars are breaking, and it was just a whole mess. And so we basically came into 2014 just like with like a bit of a chip on our shoulder, like all guns blazing, and we won the first event, Long Beach, and we actually held the points lead all the way through to the final round. And there's only been one other driver that had achieved that at the time, and that was 10 years before the very first season of FD. So that was a pretty monumental year for us.
And the different types of vehicles on the same track, is it something that also you can experience? Like you can drift on the specific circuit, and then you can actually use your other categories of car on the same circuit? Okay.
Oh yeah, so especially at some of the events that we go to, there'll be road racing happening at one point in time during the day, and then we'll be drifting on another. And so same thing, like, we're going out after the road race guys kind of go up, and sometimes they'll like kind of pick up the rubber that we put down on the track. So certain racing lines will be a little slicker and a little more grippy in certain areas based on the cars that just went over the track. So once again, like having to be able to adapt to the track.
So the competition is always changing, actually.
Yeah.
And that question actually brings me to another one. Can you give more detail about how many vehicles and what vehicles you use to compete?
We primarily use one car. We use the Nissan 370Z for the past 11 years. We are actually the first team to receive the new Nissan Z outside of Nissan in the world, and the first team to enter it into a motorsports event. Okay. So yeah, we got the car and we only had 6 weeks to build it, and which is a incredibly tight timeline. Yeah, normally it takes us about 3 months, but we had a lot of guys on the car and a lot of just different aspects. There was people working on it that were out of state, basically working remote, building parts, designing parts on the computer and sending them in. So we had about 2,500, almost 3,000 man hours into it in that short amount of time.
That's great. And that's bringing me to another question regarding the customization. So I guess this is the preparation, but when it comes to customization, how far can you go and how far can you push it for every type of vehicle?
So it all depends, because on the Formula Drift circuit in our professional racing series, we're only allowed to do certain things to the car.
Okay.
And so between the shock towers, you're really not allowed to modify the chassis. So we lop the front and the back end off, and we make those replaceable as there's contact and we're sliding up against the walls, things like that. But we do a lot to the drivetrain. The drivetrain's unlimited. Our car makes 1,300 horsepower. So, and that's basically to help be able to spin the tires when you're going 100 plus miles an hour. So, if you imagine, well, I shouldn't say going 100 miles an hour down the road. Going 100 miles an hour on a racetrack, yes, of course. And being able to throw the car sideways and stand on the gas and having it spin the tires, you need a lot of power for that.
And now coming to the game. After tasting them, what do you think about how do they react? Knowing that you also are a gamer, so you can compare that. How do you feel about them?
Yeah, I think that the control in the game is very fun. It's very exciting. The idea is to have control of the car and to be able to run it through the different courses, have different feedback between the different chassis, and especially the different settings like the rallycross and the circuit and the drifting. But I like how it's not too serious, where it kind of takes the fun out of the game.
Yes.
Like we've played on simulators and such, and like one small mistake and you're basically just like flying through the grass, and like it's very frustrating for people. And so I like how it's not too much of just bouncing off the walls and being like an arcade game. But it has a lot of feedback. The car dips and puts weight on the front end when you're braking and going into a corner. But it's also very drivable and very forgiving. So that you can go out and have fun and race with your friends all at the same time.
And did you try it? How do you play usually this type of games, like with the inside camera or the exterior camera? What's it's very different from reality.
Oh, it's very different. Yeah. So I do enjoy the inside camera. It's a little more realistic, even when you're playing with a joystick.
Yes.
Especially if you're playing on a wheel, which we got to try both ways here. And so especially when you're behind the wheel, you have to be in the cockpit.
Okay.
And then sometimes it's fun to kind of look from behind, so you get a little more of a view, especially when you're racing with the other guys.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's nice to have all the options.
Okay. And what about the visibility? Did you find some similarities also? We try to reproduce a credible environment, something that's believable for everybody. And of course, you mentioned it. The fun is important.
Yep.
So trying to make it accessible to our player. This is also coming with the episode. So how did you find it? The way we try to integrate the design of the track itself.
Yeah, so the one thing that I did really notice is all the extra effort that goes into the surrounding areas of the track.
Yes.
It's not just like, oh, here's a track, here's the 2 walls, and go have fun. There's all the different buildings like water towers, and like the garages, flags, and all of that really adds to the element of the game. To not have it just be so simple and just like you're you in the car and the track, and to have just all these different stimulations to kind of keep people excited, and just all the colors and daytime, nighttime. It changes the aspects of the tracks as well.
And does it help also with some point of reference for some turns and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, especially for me because I haven't had too much time on some of the new tracks that we're getting in the new update. But seeing all the markers that they have really help with the learning the courses. And then of course after that, when you start to learn the courses even more, you can start to use markers so that you know exactly when you have to brake, so you can actually get that pass and win the race.
That's great. I know that we're talking about the game. Do you have a favorite Ubisoft game?
Well, obviously the Crew 2, especially with our new update. Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah, so no, I've always been a racing car video game fan.
Yes.
And I've done some other first-person type games, but it wasn't really for me. I'm just always about the different racing games, and the Crew 2 just done a fantastic job, and just love to see all the new additions, especially with the new update and being able to race in my actual cars. Yeah, why would you want to race anything else?
We're very happy that you like it. So, Chris, one last question. Yep. What are you the most excited for the place to discover?
Let's see. I guess I would say I'm most excited to drive my 370Z in the game. Yeah. Basically because it just makes an absolute ridiculous amount of horsepower, right? Probably the most in the game, maybe. But yeah, like we got to do a little bit of testing with it as the guys are starting to develop it and get it ready to go in the game. And yeah, just being able to just like snap that thing sideways and rip through the courses. I haven't played on all the new courses yet, so I'm sure that there will be a favorite. So the Vegas one does look really exciting, especially with all the neon, all the lighting, and like having the casino there and all that. So I think the Vegas track will probably be my favorite, and of course ripping the big power car, the 370Z.
Get ready to see a lot of videos from the players.
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome. They're going to reproduce all the things that you did.
So as long as you manage to give all the small details and the good insight for a team, that's good for us to try to do the best with integrating your cars within the game.
Yeah, no, they've all been fantastic. We've been sending over just a ton of different reference pics and seeing all the little details, all the knobs that we basically spent the time to mount in the car back at the shop, and to have it recreated and see like oh, I remember doing that and even like our handbrake, the handbrake in the car is a custom design of ours. That we actually sell. It's one of our products, and to see that like recreated in the game is just like a really cool feature as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for everything, and we'll see you soon in the game while I the cars.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.